Welcome, Anna. Thank you. You accept our invitation. We are here to talk about your exhibition, ID exhibition, now in Arzachena, Sardinia, Italia, and at the Michele Ruzzittu Museum will be open until the 1st of September. And well, you took 10 years to realize it. What is behind this 10 year of work?
Well, it started as a album inlet for my dad's album, I'll Scratch Yours, which was a covers album. And he wanted to figure out a way to put each of the artists that he covered in the album inlay. So he asked if I'd do the photographs of each artist, and we decided that to represent who they were, their identity, as it were, we would do a thumbprint and an eye close up, and that would be the saying who he was covering, the artist. But when I was shooting it, I shot about 12 for that album, and then when I finished the project, I thought, this is quite interesting. The eyes interest me more than the thumbprint, and I thought, well, I'll carry on with this. But it became because I was doing other things. I had two children, and during that time, I had like various other work I was doing. So it was sort of a side job, a side project that I just did for fun. But also the scheduling with the artists that I photographed took a very long time. Some people were on tour, some people were doing a film, some people were doing this. So it was waiting till they finish, another 6 months, another 8 months, so it took a very long time just to really get the people and for me to have the time. So it was, and then finally, I could have carried on and on and on, but I just thought at one point, I need to finish now, and there's enough, and I'll make a book, and then found the right publisher, and the book happened. So that was the end. And this is the Arzachena show is the last show of I've done, I think, 5 now, but I think that will be the last one.
What was the hardest part to do?
I think the hardest part was really the scheduling people, because it just took so long to kind of find a time that was right for everyone, and reaching out to them, and locking people in was the hardest part, because it's quite hard to reach some of these people. Also, I did it a lot through friends of friends, and my dad obviously helped connecting me to some of the people. So it was a lot of back and forth emailing.
It's very difficult to capture a particular aspect with a shoot of a look. What's the right moment to press and do the click?
Yeah, I think, well, when I go into with this project, I would come up with an idea for the person, or what I thought about them, and um I think about it before I go shoot, and then when I get in the room, I sort of forget all the ideas and see what happens naturally, because you want to get a natural reaction. So you have a conversation, you just start talking, you start taking photographs, and it really is, as long as it takes to just feel like, oh, that was the one, I got that one. Because you just keep taking them until you think that you've got it, really, and then it's just a matter of luck, and timing, and if you've gotten the person comfortable enough, and set up the way you wanted it to, and framed it the way you wanted to, and all those combinations of things come together for that one that you think is right.
Sting, Lou Reed, your father, Peter Gabriel, Annie Lennox, Brian Eno, David Byrne, and many, many other artists were photographed by you. Well, tell me something more about Annie Lennox eyes, Sting eyes, and your father eyes.
he was very intense. I think he's a very confident person. He has a very sort of confident air about him. So he feels quite direct and talks to you directly. And his eye, when I photographed that one, I wanted to get that feeling from him. And so I asked him to look directly at the camera. And I think it is a very strong, directional shot, which for me really gave quite a bit of his personality. So, I think it portrays him quite well in my feeling of what I know of him. I don't know him too well, but what I've gathered in the time that I know him. And I think with Annie, she was, I hadn't met her before, and she was lovely, very warm, very open. She had a sort of a real calming, very self-secure thing to her. And I got her in her hotel room in New York. And when I shot her eye, it was just, the lighting was perfect. It was very natural. And she feels like a very natural person. She doesn't care about the way she obviously cares about the way we all care about the way we look, but not she was very comfortable in her own skin. So it was like when I came to retouching and like doing, sending, are you comfortable with this photograph? She really had no questions. She was just like, oh, well, this is, it's perfect. And then, she's just got a very natural beauty to her. And her eyes are just, for me, very stunning and very telling of her kindness and warmth and who she is. And Dad, that was quite hard to do. I actually did it twice. I did 2 shoots with him because sometimes I think when you know someone so well, it's quite difficult to see them in a different way. What I wanted to get from him was kind of the look that I always see from him, but it's harder when you have a camera right in front of you between the two of you. It's almost blocking. With most people that you don't know very well, there's a sense of safety because you don't have that comfort with them. With someone you know very well, it's almost blocking that interaction. So I didn't feel it was actually as connection as it could have been. But I still like it, as it was still a moment that was him relaxing at home. So it was quite, there is an element of that there, but I wanted a bit more from that one.
There was someone more undisciplined. Tell me something funny.
Yes. I mean, it's hard to say. There was always, there was something for all of them. I enjoyed the David Byrne shoot because he did, he was the first person to sort of like do all these funny things with his eyes. And I thought, oh, that's so perfect. It's so him. And he's the one to do the different thing and not just, play with it more and get more experimental. And so I really liked it when he did this. It was like, it felt, even though you can't see his eye open, it just was perfect for me, like for him doing something different from everyone else and doing something a little more unusual. And so I kept that photograph. But there were there were so many different, I think that's why I wanted to add the story to the photograph in the book, because there was a different experience for everyone I shot.
Yeah. A curious anecdote happened during the exhibition you did worldwide.
Let me think. Well, I liked the Johnny Depp shoot was interesting to me because we did it at backstage at a concert that he was doing, and it was crazy busy and people were running in and out and it was a bit hectic. And I was sitting waiting for him to have a chance to do it, and there was no light anywhere, daylight, because I was using natural light. I didn't have a light with me. So I was a little worried, like, where am I going to get there's not enough light. And I was standing in the dressing room, and I tried, when he was ready, I tried to shoot him there. I was like, no, there's not enough light. We have to go somewhere else. And so we just went into the bathroom of his dressing room, and it had a very fluorescent bright lights, which, I don't necessarily like, but it worked. There was enough light to do the photograph. And when I took out I'd seen these glasses in a secondhand shop in New York, an old antique shop. And one of them had a missing frame, and they were old doctor's spectacles, like to check the eyes, optician. And one of them had a glass missing. And I thought, oh, it kind of reminded me of some of the characters he's played, or some quirkiness about him. And so I asked him if he wouldn't mind wearing them, and he said, sure, no problem, and put them on. And then he said, so interesting, because the one that doesn't have a glass in it is the one I can't see out very well. So it was like really interesting to me. And I thought, oh, well, that's a ironic piece of information than when I was taking these and when I was picking the frames, which I think worked really nicely too. But the whole show that shoot was the sort of almost stressful, I guess, the shoot that I'd done, because it was very high and a lot going on during the time.
A particular place where you usually like to think about your new project?
I've been doing a lot of studies with another project called Reverberation on the Brain and how it works. And often, like, for creativity, if you take yourself out of a normal environment where, like, you can, something is, like, if you listen to music, for example, that has from another culture, or something you're not used to listening to, that has different sounds, different things, it'll open your mind to be, or train your mind to sort of think, I'm looking for new patterns, I'm looking for creative way to think. And it can then make your mind more creative. But for me personally, there's things like, when I do TM meditation. I actually haven't done it in a while, but when I do it on a regular basis, sometimes when I'm meditating, I will come up with ideas. Like, it's the one place that will sort of come to me quicker. So I find that's a really good thing for me. Or if I'm in places that are different, if I'm on holiday at the sea or traveling, a lot of traveling stuff, if you're in the car or on a train or a plane, and you can come up with ideas. But yeah.
Did your father contribute to the creation and the development of this exhibition?
He helped me get the people who I photographed at the beginning. But yeah, he wasn't a part of the exhibition. He came with me to check it out when we were hanging it, but no, he wasn't a part of that. He obviously came and did some of to the opening, and did some questions, but he's very supportive, so it's nice to have him around, and he'll always be there for my sister and I if we need, his support. So
did your mother, Jill Moore, give you any advice?
Yes, I think she had quite a bit to do with it, because she is herself a psychotherapist. So she is, she's always been interested in people, in humans, in their emotions, in where they're coming from, what they're about. And I think that has rubbed off on my sister and I, and we are also very interested in people. And I think part of me as a photographer and this project specifically was to look at people a bit deeper and to figure out who they are, look into their eyes, try and find something more. So I think just my pure interest in people and understanding people comes from her. But she's also my mom and gives me advice every day on everything else. So she always has a part to do with my life.
You live in a lovely extended family. What's the secret of harmony and getting along?
I think you just, being open with each other, expressing how you feel, talking, spending time with each other. I think just really communication, I say, with every relationship in your life, with, you know, whether it's your children, your husband, your family, it's being able to talk, express your emotion, and you know, give and take for each other. So I think that's the key to any relationship, really.
To be the daughter of a famous people is not easy. How much has it affect your life?
I think you know, there's pluses and minuses to everything. I think you know, the pluses, it, you know, it often helps to get the connections, to get through a door, to someone to notice, someone to answer your calls, answer your emails, you know, all those sort of things. But once you do get to those places, you have to almost prove yourself a little more, because a lot of people will also be going, well, you know, she's just got that because of so and so, she's not that good, and so you have to really say, prove yourself. So it's harder in that respect. And I think also a lot of the self-worth is quite hard, because you think, you know, do they like me, or is it just because of my
Yeah,
dad,
yeah,
or
yeah.
do they like my work, or is it just because of him? So you have to really gain your own confidence in a lot of things, because you're not sure why people are approaching you or not. So that can be, you know, tricky too. But there's, you know, there's so many pluses to it as well. So it's you know, I feel very grateful too, for a lot of, you know, the positive sides of things, and where, you know, how it's been able to help me in my life and my career. So
What are your next projects?
yes, I mean, photography wise, I have a few ideas of things I want to do, but I haven't had time to get started on it yet. But I'm working with my dad and with this guy Michael Herman, on a project called Reverberation, and we actually had a book out the beginning of this year, or in March, I think it was, and it's called Reverberation: Do Everything Better with Music. And that is about our brains, and how music affects us, and the music affects our brains and our bodies, and how we can use music as a tool to sort of better our lives in different ways. So that book is much more, you know, it's not a photography book. It's you know, a written book, and it's kind of, but we wanted it to be very much a user's guide of how to use music and understand it better and how it affects us. And we're trying to do many projects around the book that lead on from it, as sort of it becomes the DNA to you know, a podcast, a TV show, live experiences, all sorts of different projects, media projects that are coming out of it. So that's keeping me very busy at the moment. So you know, we'll see. Hopefully, I'll get some of my art in there as well. But that's the current project.
Which side of you did you particular like?
I think I am a good mom. I think I spend, you know, that's probably the most important thing for me, my kids, and I would, you know, I put that as a priority in my life, and my family. So I think that, you know, that I'm a good mom and wife, and I also I think I'm probably a generous person, kind. I have a lot of friends I'm close with, and I'm sort of loyal. I'm pretty loyal to people. So yeah, I'd say those things mainly. I'm not very good at saying good things about myself.
My last question. Never say never to what?
I say almost everything, unless there's a danger to it, or your family, because I think that sometimes, you know, if you if you're fearful, if you live your life in fear and you say no to things, and it will close off so many doors, and if you can lose a bit of that fear and just go for things and say yes to things that you might not normally say yes to, it can take you to a lot further places in your life. And really, I I think a lot of people are stuck because of fear. um, I think it's one of the worst things, you know. So so yeah, I would say I'd like to do more of it myself too. Have less fear and say yes on more often.
Thank you, Anna, for this interview, even if only on Zoom. And I hope to see you soon in person in Milan.